everybody, this is Cole with Rookie Ace, and we're here with another Wings of Glory Wednesdays episode. Today we are going to be going over one of the most iconic planes of the Great War. You heard me right, we are going over the Fokker DR-1, the Red Baron's trademark plane. I suppose I could call it the trademark triplane, you got some alliteration in there. Okay, anyway, so one thing that makes it, well, we'll start out with the maneuver deck. So you look at the maneuver deck for the triplane. It's kind of on the slower side as far as fighters go. Let me see if I can provide you with an example. So if you look here, you got the SE5. So this is on the faster scale for German planes. So it's definitely going to go fast. Excuse me, it's definitely not going to keep pace with the faster planes out there. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit slower. This is especially marked if you look at the turns, as we'll do in a little bit. But so you've got your three straights, very basic, kind of slow. Then you have the Implosion. And, you know, the shorter Implosion is actually kind of neat because, you know, with these longer Implosions that the faster planes have, you know, they get a lot more extension. They'll pitch out there and then they'll swing out and then come back. You know, with the DR-1, it's more like a knife fight in a telephone booth. You know, the DR-1 will just turn around on a dime and move not move very far forward at all. It'll just spin around and pretty much be in the same exact place as when it started, like thus. Which makes it great if you're in close to an enemy and you want to reverse quick and pin him down. You got the dive, you got the climb, all very basic. The DR-1 climbs on a 2, by the way. It's got a very, very nice climb rate. You know, like if you want to raise your altitude in one hand of 3 cards, here's a neat little trick. For card 1, you play the climb. For card 2, you play a straight. And card 3, you play an Implosion. And there you have it. In only 3 cards, you've completely changed from one peg of altitude to the next. This is very useful if you need to surprise your enemy by gaining altitude rather quickly, so you can have the altitude advantage. The downside is, though, it makes you fairly predictable, because if your enemy's worth his salt, he knows that next hand you're gonna have to play a straight. So he knows where you're gonna be next card, so you gotta sacrifice a little unpredictability for astonishing climb rate, but that's an option for you if you want it. The DR-1 is more than capable of this. Alright, so then we have what pretty much every other plane in the game has. You got your 2 basic stalls, nothing very exciting about those. And you have your side slips. Those are very nice. You got them to the right and to the left. Again, you can kind of see the slower speed of the DR-1. So if you're trying to chase a target running away from you, well, you're going to have a tough time closing speed. But if you're too close to a guy and you kind of want to slow down, well, the DR-1 will have an easier time of that than, say, the SPAD or SE5. And now we kind of get into some of the interesting stuff. You have the basic right and left turns, and of course they're very basic, you know, what can be said about them. But the thing is, given the DR-1's rather slow speed, these turns, even though they're not tight turns per se, do come out fairly tight on the table. So that makes it, the DR-1's turning radius is pretty small. Like, for example, let me get you the SE5's turn cards, the standard turn cards, and you can compare them. So here you go. Let me just find the other one. I'm less prepared than I should be today. I apologize. We'll just go with 2. Alright, so if you look at this, compare that to that. So it's kind of a night and day difference. You know, the SE5 will end up here, and the DR-1 will end up there. So if you, let's just say you played that 3 times, or even 2. So the SE5 will cover that amount of ground in a turn, and the DR-1 will cover approximately that amount of ground in a turn. So if an SE5 or a SPAD, especially a SPAD, tries to turn fight a DR-1 like that, well, the DR-1's gonna be on him all day long, because within only one card, he would be in a shooting position of this SE5, and then you could play something else to get on his tail. So, you know, just the mere fact that the turns are so tight, even as standard turns, really helps the DR1 out in close quarters. Now, these are very fun to play. You have they're side slips, but they're not quite standard side slips, and they're not quite the wide side slips that take up the card like that. Instead, they're basically a hit the brakes and skid, a sort of skid maneuver. So a DR1 pilot could be like this on the table. Using one of these maneuvers, he could all of a sudden just be right there, and basically it's almost like a barrel roll. You trade very little forward position for not much side position either. It's basically just a stall offset to the right or to the left. And it is steep, by the way, but it is a very effective and surprising maneuver, especially if, say, your target is flying along. Let me pick on the SE5 again. Your target's flying along, and you're right here, or say like thus, and you expect him to be somewhere here next turn. Well, you can plan this card, and let's say he does what you expect, and then boom. That's a kill shot right there. That's very effective. Anyway, so finally the DR1 has these two fun little turns. They're both tight turns to the left, and they are probably the tightest tight turns in the game. I mean, they take up so little space. I mean, it's just due to the DR1's so slow speed. But, I mean, you literally can whip this thing around, wham, bang. It's just amazing. So, the name of the game when flying the DR1 is you're flying a plane that's very space efficient. It does not take up much space when maneuvering. All of its maneuvers are compact, so learn to use them that way. When fighting a plane that is less space efficient and kind of swoops all over the table due to its speed, use your superior turning and angles to get shots inside him. Now, if you're fighting a plane like the Sopwith Camel, you can exploit that too, because the Camel's left turn is notoriously large, actually. I mean, if you just compare the two, you got the Camel, and then you have the DR1, which we've already shown you. Yeah, getting a little messy here, I apologize, but so Camel, DR1. The Camel is almost Spad-like in its left turn, so, you know, if you can force them into flying not so efficiently with space, you know, do that. Otherwise, if they're going to turn fight you, well, you're going to have to use your wits. So, anyway, that is the DR1 for you. If you have any other planes or any thoughts about things I may have missed on the DR1, let me know in the comments. I'm all ears, and always glad to hear from you guys. Anyway, until I see you all again, salute and blue skies. Hey guys, if you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe by clicking on the shield in the top left corner. If you really liked what you saw and want to be a part of helping us make better content in the future, check us out on Patreon. Until next time, thanks so much for watching, and blue skies.